I'm Melissa Shanahan, and this is the Velocity Work Podcast, episode number 128. This podcast is for attorneys who are running their own firms. We explore tactics, tools, and stories related to pushing past simply lawyering well and into building a successful firm. Working in your firm and working on your business are two very different things. This podcast focuses on the latter. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode. So last week we heard from Neely Shaw. I had her on the podcast to share her experience of listening to the Lessons Learned podcasts that I do after every sprint, prior to doing a sprint versus listening to the episodes after having done a sprint, and what it means to her and how different it lands for her. So I highly recommend that you go back and listen to that episode, which was last week. It was episode number 127. So good. And a big thanks to Neely for taking time out of her busy schedule to come on and share. I knew that so many of you would benefit having listened to her experience and her perspective around all the things that we talk about on this podcast. Well, this week we are jumping into lessons learned from the fall sprints. So we ran a sprint in September and October of this year, 2021, and 95% of the participants were Mastery Group members. For those of you who don't know, Mastery Group is a group coaching program that I run, and it's all centered around strategic planning. And once you have the plan, then honoring the plan and checking in and accountability there. There's a lot of perks when you're a member of Mastery Group. And one of them is that you get first dibs and discounts on sprint enrollment. And I'm really glad we set it up this way, because turns out over time, what has happened is that Mastery Group members are really interested in the sprints, and they soak up the spots. And so there's very few, if any, spots left at this point to be open to the public. And that's okay with me. These Mastery Group members are engaged, and this just increases their engagement even further. And what I mean by engagement is engagement in their own stuff, engagement in progress towards their goals and their vision and getting what they want. And so it's a really cool thing to be able to work with Mastery Group members who select in to the sprints and just help them deepen all of the work that we're doing in Mastery Group. So this has been really cool. So if you haven't seen anything come through about a sprint in a while, this is why. Really, as a company, we've kind of graduated to this place where we are at capacity with what we can do with the sprints. So the moral of the story is, if you are interested in what I'm sharing with you today, and you want to work on this stuff, and you want a coach, and you want a community of people who are doing exactly what you're doing, they are implementing and applying the same principles that you'll be applying, and you want a plan, you want a strategic plan, and you want to be able to honor that plan and have accountability and check-ins along the way, and you want to be able to learn how to delegate and get things off your plate and plan your time and get really organized and dialed in, then join Mastery Group. Sprints were an easy way for the public to kind of get a taste for velocity work and enter in that way. But I am here to tell you that officially we are at capacity with sprints. I don't know what the future of the sprints will look like. I know that right now your in is Mastery Group, and Mastery Group is an amazing coaching program that is built for you in mind. It gives you quarterly strategic planning. It gives you accountability for honoring your plan. It provides you with topic specific coaching calls. It's the bomb. It is so good. And it's evolved to this where it's at, and it's only going to continue to evolve and improve, because that's what I'm doing. I want to keep improving this for you guys. So if you want this kind of coaching and you want to work with me, join Mastery Group. It is affordable, and it will be extremely useful and helpful to you on your journey. So we would love to have you in there. I'm sure that it'll be in the show notes, but you go to velocitywork.com/join. You have options there to join, but we would love to have you and get to know you better and get to work with you. And when it comes time for a sprint to be offered, you will be the first to know. All right, everybody. So with that, I'm going to dig into these lessons. Today, the lessons learned that I'm going to be sharing are around planning and honoring the plan. For those of you who don't have a lot of context for why I'm doing these lessons learned, I want to share. We do have a lot of new listeners in the last few months, and so this will maybe be helpful to you. When we have hosted in the past these 30-day sprints, every day these participants have to show up and they report in on, for accountability purposes, what they got done, what they didn't get done of what they said they were going to do. And it's all towards this one result that they're working towards. And every day they have to give a lesson learned, which is kind of like when I tell people that at first, they kind of cock their head to the side just because they're trying to wrap their head around what I'm saying. But the lesson that you have to say every day, or the realization that you have had, has to be about you and how you operate. It can't be about the world. It can't be about a process. It can't be about a person outside, like an employee or whatever. It has to be about you and how you operate. And so these things that I'm going to share with you today are lessons that I felt like would be really helpful to share that came out of this fall's sprints. And this is people saying, this is what I've noticed. This is something that I need to take more seriously. These are the things that I'm proud of. This is what I need to work on. This is a done deal. I'm never going backwards. Like, you'll hear these declarations that they have, and that's what I want to share with you today. And this came through practice. A daily practice. This came through the application of prioritizing, planning, and then honoring their plan. So that's what comes out of this. So some of these things sound like really nice sentences, but you have to remember that they came up with these sentences because of an experience that they had. It was what they had to say about their experience and about their reflection, and about last week hearing Neely talk about when you become introspective about you and how you operate and you get really honest about how you showed up. This is the kind of stuff that's coming out of their mouth. These are the kinds of realizations and lessons learned. So that's what this is digging into. So here we go with lessons learned, all centered around planning and honoring your plan. Lesson number 1. Make a commitment and put it on the calendar to eliminate the mental negotiation. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I need to use workflow buckets because it organizes my thoughts so I know what to tackle and what to prioritize. Workflow buckets, what this was, one way I like to think about this is when you're doing your brain download from your Monday Map. And if you don't know what Monday Map is, Monday Map Friday Wrap is a process I teach. You should go to velocitywork.com and get your free copy of it. There's a guide there that will guide you exactly through how to do a Monday Map. And then we refine the process and help you customize, tailor it to you inside of Mastery Group. Well, this person's saying, I need to use workflow buckets because it organizes my thoughts. And something that was really cool that happened this last quarter was a member shared that when he does his brain download, he does his download into buckets. And so he has different buckets that make sense for him, and that helps him stay organized with his download. And it's brilliant. And since then, I've been doing that. Other members have been doing that. So it's just a way to tweak and optimize the process. So that's one way to think about workflow buckets. Okay, next lesson in here. Busyness is the enemy. My productivity is inversely correlated with the number of responsibilities on my plate. So true. Thoughtful and purposeful planning is the most important part of project management. Working in a group setting for both support and accountability is energizing. Yes, it is. Show up and produce your best work, even if it's not to ideal standards. Budget time for a redo at a later time. And I like this because we've talked about this before with lessons learned, but something that becomes very obvious very quickly to most participants is that yes, you show up and do your best, but you are not striving for perfection. It's not going to happen in one sitting. Perfection, whatever, that's not even attainable. But what I mean is like the ideal end result that you are shooting for, that happens with when you come back to revisit and you have your second iteration, or you edit what you did the first time around, and then maybe you do that again, right? So stop wasting time on perfection when you first sit down to do something or write something or create something or map out something. Just do it. Get it out of your head, do it, and make it like an ugly first draft. And then when you come back to it, you can really clean it up, tighten it up, and get it to where you want it to be. Doing the exercise of Monday Map, Friday Wrap really helps my team members plan their week so that I can give tasks away and delegate. Yeah, so when you are very organized about how you're going to approach your week and what you're going to spend time on and what the results you're going to create that week, and you realize what's possible to delegate and to hand off so that more results can be created more quickly, that gives your people a chance to be ahead of the game as well, instead of just reacting to everything that you say. Now, you're in a position, and they may be in a position where that's part of their job, is to be able to handle some of the things that pop up in the moment that you need them to handle. But you tee up your team for more fulfillment, more satisfaction, and better, faster results the sooner that you can let them know certain things. But you can't let them know anything if you aren't organized about your week. If you haven't planned out your week and you know what results are going to be created, and then you can tee them up to be ahead of you, 2 steps ahead of you. But you can't do that if you're not organized. You're just flying by the seat of your pants. That's the way everybody around you is going to operate as well. At least maybe not as much as you, but you are cutting off their potential with what's possible with the results that they create because of your reactivity. So this was a great lesson. Honoring the plan means practicing restraint so that I make progress on the thing in front of me and I do not fall behind on other things. When you don't follow your calendar, you are dishonoring your past and future self. I really like this one because think about this for a second. When you don't follow your calendar, which is when you don't do what you say you were going to do, when you don't stick to the plan that you made, then you are dishonoring your past self because your past self got you to where you are. You're welcome, right? That's like your past self saying to your current self, can you just do what you need to be doing right now? We got you all this way. What are you doing? You're bungling opportunities, right? But then also your future self. So you don't follow your calendar, you don't honor your plan, you're dishonoring your future self. Like you aren't getting yourself to where you could be. You are limiting yourself because you won't just do what you said you were going to do. You are allowing the other things to win out. And that produces inefficiencies. It creates results so much slower, if they're even ever hit, depending on what you're working towards. It's just not worth it. Just do what you said you were going to do. Make a good plan and honor your plan. So I love this, that when you don't follow your calendar, you're dishonoring your past self and your future self. In times of stress, identify one small item to complete as opposed to doing nothing. This is true. And you'll hear other lessons that kind of go along with this with overwhelm and anxiety. Just one small thing that you can take action on as opposed to doing nothing. And I have the tendency, just like many of you, to have an all or nothing mentality where if I feel like I can't make huge headway, then I just throw my arms up and, that's my default tendency. But I've trained myself and I know that if I do feel extremely stressed out and overwhelmed, if for some reason I'm feeling like I don't know where to start, I just identify one small thing to complete and it makes all the difference. It creates momentum. You're going to hear more about that in some of the lessons too. Honoring your calendar means more than just completing your expectations. It means knowing that your plan is multifaceted and encompasses multiple aspects of your life. So it's not just about crushing the things that you said you wanted to do with work. If you're actually planning your time and your calendar reflects reality and it gives space to the things that you're saying matters, it means that your plan is multifaceted and it encompasses multiple aspects of your life, not just work. And that's what we want. That's what we're shooting for, is to be a really well-rounded owner as we're building what we're building. So I loved that lesson. Say yes to the plan and say no to everything else that is not in the plan. I loved how simple this one was. People say yes to things when it's not actually part of their plan because of a fear of something. It's like FOMO. They feel like they're going to miss out on an opportunity. They feel like they're going to miss out on, it's just a very hustly energy that you bring. And once you have an established business and you are working to grow that established business, you have got to get out of that energy. Saying yes to things that throw you off your plan is there's so many things wrong with that. There's a time for an exception, right? Emergencies or huge opportunities, right? Like something that is clearly the ROI is there, but typically that's not what happens. Typically we're just afraid of missing out on something, or it's like the scarcity mindset. So this is so simple, but is really powerful for the person that brought it up. Say yes to the plan and say no to everything else that is not in the plan. So good. Keeping up with the schedule that I set out is super important so that I do not become the bottleneck and stop my team from being productive. Yes. So this is kind of like we were talking about earlier, when you are organized with what you need to accomplish that week and how you're going to spend your time creating those results, you get out of the way of other people. When you're reactive, you are usually in the way. Following the plan helps me fly to my goal. Yes, it does. Quit cutting everything so close. Expecting everything to go perfectly is unrealistic and immature. I love this. I totally agree with this, but I loved how cut and dry this was for this person when they showed up with this lesson. Stop cutting everything so close. Expecting things to go perfectly is unrealistic and it's immature, which is so true. It's so true. I can accomplish anything I set my mind to, even the scary stuff, with thoughtful planning, delegation, and accountability. Yes. I need to add more buffer time and assume that things are not going to go as planned. Be pleasantly surprised if there is more time. That's true. We talk about buffer time. That's part of Monday Map. You have to build in buffer time because things aren't going to go as planned. And the more you go along, the better and better you get at making a plan and being able to honor it. But that's just life. It's not going to go perfectly, but you still need a plan and you still need to be executing accordingly. And when you have buffer time built in, then it allows you to be able to rearrange or handle things when they come up, and it doesn't mean your day is screwed, right? I need to make planning a priority, so time for planning needs to go on my calendar. I left this one in here to share with you guys because people don't put it on the calendar. So even if they want to do Monday Map, Friday Wrap as a practice, they don't actually schedule time to do it. So they keep slamming into their weeks with intentions of doing Monday Map, Friday Wrap, but they don't schedule time to do Monday Map, Friday Wrap. That is very important. There is freedom in a plan because you do not have to continuously reassess priorities. When I respect that plan, I am way more productive instead of treating the things I need to get done like a list of hopes. I need to focus on the things that deserve me. Whew, isn't that good? I need to focus on the things that deserve me. What deserves your focus? It's a really good lesson learned and a great question to ask yourself. To improve and grow my business, I need to continue to improve and grow as the business owner. The way to do that is thoughtful planning and intentional, consistent action. Truth. Be accountable to the plan because the plan has a lot more thought put into it than in the moment. In the moment, I tend to do things that are not super productive and isn't the best use of time. I want you to hear this again and really, really think about this. Be accountable to the plan because the plan has a thought put into it. More thought put into it than what's happening in the moment. In the moment, you tend to do things that aren't super productive and it isn't the best use of time. That is so true. People want to question their plans. Stop questioning and just do it. Just do it because you will get yourself to this different place. And then you can question all you want, but get it done first. So this is it was worded well. My inner excuse-making voice is getting trumped by my plan, and that is a satisfying feeling. So good. That's what happens when you practice. The way to deal with anxiety or overwhelm is action. Take the smallest step and just do one thing. Yes, 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 yes. Avoiding Monday Map because of overwhelm is like not lifting weights because you are weak. That's the exact reason I need to do Monday Map. Aren't these so good, you guys? Come on. Come on. These are so good. Oh, this one I actually did a whole podcast on called Virtuous Procrastination, totally inspired by this participant with this lesson. And the conversation that followed was so good that day. Virtuous procrastination is still procrastination. Embrace the discomfort and do what I said I was going to do. I can make time for those other things. I can calendar time for those other things that want to pull me away. Sometimes deciding to do something in the moment feels like the right thing, but it's an emotional indulgence. You are really just taking action without a plan, which doesn't produce the result you're really wanting. So true. We've talked about that so much on this podcast. Overloading my calendar is setting myself up to fail, which creates a hole that my future then has to go dig out of. Or I can be realistic and have feasible days that don't drain me. This is great because this is this participant realizing, really coming to terms with the fact that it's a choice. And overloading your calendar is a choice. Setting yourself up to fail is a choice. And you can lie to yourself and justify your way out of that, but it's a freaking choice. And so this, I'm going to read it again. Overloading my calendar is setting myself up to fail, which creates a hole that future me then has to dig out of. Or I could be realistic and have feasible days that do not drain me. That is the straight up truth. And for those of you who are like, well, it doesn't feel like it's the truth. I don't think I have an option. I have to overload myself or else. Or else what? The truth is you're not going to get it all done anyway. So just make a good plan, right? So good. When I plan well and I follow it, my anxiety is managed. I experience similar things, my friend. Accountability creates action. Having everything mapped gives a calmness, knowing you can take the time because you know you have time scheduled for what absolutely has to get done. That's great. It gives a calmness. And that's kind of speaking to what I just mentioned about anxiety. It manages anxiety. It is that. There's a calmness because you know you've got things taken care of and thought through. Creating a workday shutdown routine will create the constraint for the amount of time I actually have. Set it on the calendar and then honor it. It helps keep me organized throughout my days and throughout my weeks. Don't fight having a plan because at the end of the day, when the plan is done, it always feels so good. So true. Shit happens even when things are going great. So keep going and the good stuff will come through. Yeah, I like that. It's like, no matter how much success you experience and how much flow you're in life, there's always going to be that I have a friend that says it's 50-50. Life is 50-50. It doesn't matter like how successful you get. 50% is still going to be bothersome, frustrating, annoying, whatever. And then 50% is going to be amazing. It doesn't matter where you are on the scale once your basic needs are met. So this is great. Just don't expect everything to go perfectly, even when there's a big wins happening. Shit happens even when things are going great. So keep going and the good stuff will come through. Saying no gives more buffer space than I could have imagined. It gives momentum towards success and requires me to be truly honest with myself. It's not the no, it's the pausing and thinking about it that really matters. And I loved this because how we all run on default modes. And for many of us, a default mode is to just say yes to anything that comes our way. Some of it seems exciting, some of it, but we don't pause and we don't weigh it out. And we don't consider all of the ramifications and the consequences and the benefits. We don't fully weigh it out. We just get wrapped up in the moment, and for whatever reason, our default answer is yes. And so I love this that she says it's not the no that's important. It's the pausing and the thinking about it that's important. I totally agree with that. Don't go over the time allotted if it's not an emergency. I can put more time on my calendar at a later time and I don't mess up the rest of my day. Yeah. So this is basically saying I've given myself 60 minutes to work on X. When 60 minutes is up, you put your pencil down and you move on to the thing that's on your calendar next. That's important because you will start to just bleed over into other events that you have, and it totally screws up your day. So it's very important to stick with the time you have allotted and then move and then move and then move, unless it's an emergency or there's some like super looming deadline that like you can't get away from it. It's urgent. So this is important because we tend to do this. It's like, oh, well, this is taking longer than I thought. And you just keep running into it. But that totally screws you because then you have to dig yourself out of a hole. There was a lesson that mentioned that earlier. So just don't do that. Schedule the amount of time that you think is best. Show up, honor that, pencils down at the when the time is up, and you move on. If you need to schedule more time later, do it. But move on. Slow the default decision-making process because taking default action is often saying yes too soon when I should be saying no, which causes my time to be spent on unnecessary things. This is very similar to the other one that we just read about with yes and no's. Activity without direction is just chaotic action. Work the plan. This is good. I like the way this is phrased. Activity without direction is just chaotic action. Work the plan. And chaotic action isn't what gets us to the results we really want. So work the plan. Set concrete goals and work backwards because you need to be working towards something in order to motivate yourself to do the work when things get tough. Set concrete goals and work backwards because you need to be working towards something in order to motivate yourself to do the work when things get tough. This is true. This is why I preach that you have to know what you're aiming for. And then you have to make a good plan to get there. Because if you know what you're aiming for and you have a really strong, compelling reason for achieving that, it's the glue that helps you stick to it. It's what creates resilience. So when times get tough, you brush the dust off your knees and you keep going because you have a hard enough why to do so. But you have to know what you're aiming for. And then you have to know exactly why, for you care about reaching that goal. This next one's really similar, which is it says, keep goals and rocks nearby at all times. And this is because it does provide a reminder of what you're shooting for. And when we have people fill out their goals and rocks, we also have them put their compelling reason right next to it. So it's all very visible to you as you're working throughout the quarter. That's really helpful. Make time to think more explicitly and write out detailed action item lists. There is thought that needs to go into coming up with the actual details. I am not always going to feel like doing something in the moment, so pre-decide. Plan and follow your plan. Sit with the discomfort and do it anyway. Yes, yes. I will never again let myself say that I do not have time for something because I can always make time for things that are important. Amen. Remember to do one thing at a time. Finish one thing that you are doing, then find the next most important thing that you need to get done. Yeah, this one's in here because we are darty with our focus. And if you just finish something, have a sense of completion, finish the one thing that you're doing, complete that, then move to the next. That sense of completion goes a long way for your psyche. And that goes a long way for your energy and your focus. So it's this reinforcing cycle if you just complete something. I need to make time to think about the business every day because it helps with focus and priorities. This I love. It depends on where you are and what time you can give to it or what time you're going to decide to give to it. But it could be as simple as logging in to look at your bank accounts or making transfers or like that's focusing on the business. If that's the only thing you do, that is focusing as an owner every day. Also looking at taking 20 minutes every day to make headway on things that will affect your culture, core values, for example. So there's things that you can do in short bursts of time as an owner that if you do take time every day to think about the business every day, it really does help with focus and priorities. When my schedule changes, I need to set aside time to bring myself back to the plan so that I'm not just busy, but I'm actually productive. If there isn't a plan, then I make one. So yeah, this is all sort of saying the same thing, but I know some of these will land differently for you depending on just what you're able to hear in the moment. Scheduling things other than my work and putting them on my calendar actually leads to more efficiency at work. It needs to go on my calendar so that I'll make time for it. And this is, we talk a lot about I work with owners as the human, not just the business owner. You have different hats you wear in life. And if I only focused on the business owner hat when it comes to planning and making decisions ahead of time, if you only focus on work, you'll leave other parts of you in the dust, things that are really important to you. So you have to look holistically as you as the owner, because your business will grow much faster that way. And you will enjoy your business more that way. So this is one reason why I definitely left this lesson in here. Do Monday map before Monday so I can hit the ground running. Yes, most people that have been doing Monday map for any length of time, they back it up. So they are doing it certainly before Monday, but some are doing it on Friday. Some are doing it on Thursday before the next week. I recently just switched mine to be doing it on Thursdays. It's a game changer to just be ahead of the game that way. Make tasks bite-sized and commit to the small things on a daily basis. This not only strengthens the trust with yourself, but also it avoids overwhelm and builds self-awareness. Yep, breaking them down into its smallest component. I am not good enough to not have a plan for the day. I love this one. I am not good enough to not have a plan for a day. And I mean, it's just cheeky and funny. Like, yeah, none of us are, like you're not good enough to not have a plan for the day and to knock it out of the park. That's just not possible. So get on board. If I have time planned to be away from the office, I need to plan better to get the work done before I leave. Yes. Don't let a day happen without space built in. Yes, this is buffer time is a perfect example of space built in. Where do you put your buffers? Do you do it, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there? Do you do it an hour here, an hour there? But you have to build space in, because when your plan doesn't go perfectly, that way you're not screwed. Now, let's say your plan does go perfectly. Well, that's fantastic. You have a bit of space in your day. Enjoy it. Take a breath. Go smile at somebody, right? Make sure you stick to the plan and keep moving forward and keep making progress. Discipline is important, because when I don't abide by the schedule, it doesn't get done. Honoring the plan is the top priority. Don't worry about getting things done perfectly. Just start. There is no one right way to start anything. All right, rounding out the lessons here, last handful. I am amazed about how productive I can be when I sit down and do my Monday map. I am excited to expand and set aside time for other aspects of my life. Yes, that is the point of Monday map, is yes, to make you more productive with work and to achieve your goals without unnecessary delay. But it really is to be able to enjoy the ride and to give yourself the space. And it doesn't mean there's not going to be busy and craziness along the way. Of course there is. But this matters. This really matters, that your life, other aspects of your life, are taken into consideration when you're planning your time. Really, seriously taken into consideration. Playing the long game means that taking the day off is okay. Yes. So this is I do think you should plan days off, and you should plan in a way to play the long game. I think when people are hustling and grinding and fear of missing out on things and go, that's playing the short game. That's not sustainable. So playing the long game, I do think you need to be planning for your time off. It's okay to realize that I need more time. It's not a failure to find out that I need longer. It's more of a failure to half-ass it within too short of a time frame. Yeah, this is true. People keep cutting corners. Like somehow feels like a failure if they can't get it done within X, Y, and Z. Well, what do you need to get it done? What do you need? How many minutes do you really need? And put that in the calendar, because it is more of a failure to half-ass it within some shortened up time frame. I need to be more realistic about what I can get done when there are other things going on in my life. This was from someone who was going through an unexpected some things in their personal life that were unexpected, that came up outside of their control. And she had to learn and accept and move towards resetting expectations for herself. And I think all of us may be listening to this saying, well, yeah, but actually when you're in that spot, it's tough. It's tough to do that when you are the owner and you're in a position where the size of your firm and the way that your firm has been built, you're still the one pushing as hard as you're pushing. You still matter deeply to your firm. That's a very difficult thing to do, to actually reset expectations and not just try to burn the candle at both ends. That's tough. So this was a good realization for her. I was actually really glad she was in the sprint, not so she can crush it while she's also dealing with personal things, but because it made her stop and reflect. Every day we were supposed to show up to a call, and some days she couldn't because of what was going on. But every day she was on that call, she had to think. She had to come up with a lesson. She had to figure out what's one tiny turtle step that she was going to take that would actually be helpful to her. And so, I mean, it was so good that she was in the sprint. Otherwise, she would have plowed through that month to the best of her ability, but probably with less awareness because she doesn't have accountability in the group and the framework and the structure to move through that forces you to be really introspective. Following the plan as much as possible alleviates the low-level anxiety that something is falling through the cracks, and that opens up space for creativity, excitement, and a sense of contentment. This is so, so true. I feel this to my core. And this is one reason why I preach so hard on this stuff. Following the plan as much as possible alleviates the low-level anxiety that something's falling through the cracks. And that opens up space for creativity, for excitement, and for a sense of contentment. I totally get that. Make sure to schedule one thing each day that I want to do, to give myself something fun, to keep things light, and to give myself something to look forward to. Yeah, I love this. I think sometimes we get in such a grind mode of heavy production work, and this felt like a really good thing, a good tip that everybody took away in the group. Make sure to schedule one thing each day that I actually want to do. That's fantastic. That is yes. I think that's important to keep us engaged. Not every day is going to be 100% type A. Some days I need extra white space because I just can't bring the A game every day. Push myself to delegate more things will help this. Pushing myself to delegate more things will help this. So yeah, this is true. This is something I learned the hard way. That's for sure. And you know what? I'm probably going to go through a phase where I have to relearn it, but not every day is going to be that perfect, like bam, like on to the next, just crushing work. That's not normal to be able to withstand that for hours on end, 5 days a week. No. So giving some extra white space in your plan is really useful. It actually allows you to move through execution much more efficiently than it looks like it's efficient on your calendar if it's just back to back, bam, bam, bam. But when you have that 5 days a week, that is, well, here's what I'll say. It's not realistic. I mean, I feel like if somebody's going to do it, it's me. I teach this stuff and I can't do that. I can't withhold that high level energy throughout the week the same way that I can for me at the beginning of the week. And other clients have talked about this too. So I have a couple of heavy days that I'm going to have to like really be on and really push at things. And that feels good. And the other 3 days, I have results to create, make no mistake, but it isn't the like back to back because that I've learned that there's a certain pace that I need to keep that will allow me throughout each week to get the most out of my time sitting at the desk or with clients or at work. Just keep showing up. Keep honoring your plan. No matter how murky things seem, it gets clearer with action. So true. Honoring the plan is like meditation. Come back to the plan like you come back to the breath. This gives me a sense of being centered in the business. I cannot tell you how much I love this one. This was new for me. I've never thought of it this way, but it really resonates with me, and I'm hoping it does with you too. Honoring your plan is like meditation. Come back to the plan like you come back to your breath. This gives me a sense of being centered in the business. And I say this, I'm not a regular meditator. I actually would like to be. Maybe I will be at some point, but I'm not right now. But it still makes sense to me. And it feels really helpful to think of it in this way. My worth isn't tied up in whether or not I honor my plan. It's all just data. I need to continue to fuel my growth. It's not about good. It's not about bad. It's just about progress. That is freedom. My gosh, this was a little bit of the conversation that I alluded to when I was talking with Neely that we had in the group about self-worth being tied up with the results that you're getting done or with honoring your plan perfectly. It's just not about that. But honoring your plan, like as you work to honor your plan and the things that don't go well, it's just information about how you need to plan differently or things that you need to consider or maybe expectations that you need to reset with some people around you. It's just information for what changes need to be made. And so that's when she's saying my worth isn't tied up in whether or not I honor my plan. It's all just data. That's what she means. And that's the truth. So the whole point here is just to continue to grow. You know, that quote by Chris Plackey, the best way to grow a business is to grow the person who's running it. That's true. And that's what this is about. That's what this lesson is really hitting on. Okay. Well, that was the last lesson. We wrapped it up. Man, you guys, thank you. This is a little longer than I've been doing lately. So hopefully you were able to stick with it. Such good lessons, such good insights for people who practiced this stuff. And this is what came out of it for them. And so it's very different. You know, I'm reading you a quote. I'm reading you what they had to say. It's very different when you receive it. It's not yours. So make it yours. Take the top one or two that just like really, for whatever reason, struck a chord. Run with those things and make it your lesson. Dig in and be introspective, as Neely said last week. I think you'll find that just doing that, just adjusting one small facet of how you operate will change your trajectory. It will move the ship, even if just 1 degree. And it gives you a little more wiggle room and a little more understanding of yourself and a little more ability to be able to move forward in the ways that you want to move forward. So take at least one thing from today's episode that struck you the hardest and be introspective about it. Play with it. Let it roll around in your mind. Make some decisions about how you want that to show up in your life, how you want to incorporate it into your life, how you need to think differently in order for that lesson to be integrated. So that's really what I hope for all of you listening out there. And for those of you who are members, I'll see you soon. We'll get to practice this more together. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. We'll see you here next week with part 2 of these lessons learned. Hey there. If you enjoyed this podcast, I highly recommend you come and check out Mastery Group. It is where owner attorneys come together to study this material, apply it, and thus create really big results for their firm and for their life. So come on over, velocitywork.com/join to get more information and get started. Show notes from this episode can be found at velocitywork.com/podcast.